The hum of laughter and clinking glasses filled the grand ballroom. But in the far corner near the towering windows, Isabella Kane sat alone, her hands folded neatly on the arms of her wheelchair. The city skyline glittered behind her like 1,000 tiny promises. She had long learned not to trust. At 38, Isabella had everything. She was the CEO of one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. Her life meticulously curated, her calendar packed with meetings, boardroom presentations, and investor dinners. Yet, tonight, she felt the emptiness of it all more acutely than ever. She wasn't here because she wanted to be. Weddings had never been her thing, not since her accident 2 years ago. Not since her heart had retreated behind the wall she had built. Her best friend, Emily, had begged her to come. "It'll be fun. You need a break from spreadsheets and boardrooms," Emily had said with the kind of optimism that felt almost foreign to Isabella. But Isabella had known the truth. Weddings were reminders of what she had lost, of connection she feared she'd never rebuild. The ballroom was a blur of color, soft golds and blush pinks. Crystal chandeliers casting reflections across polished floors. Couples swirled in delicate harmony. Children ran past with sticky fingers and laughter. And everywhere, joy radiated like a tangible perfume. Yet, Isabella felt invisible, a silent observer in a world that celebrated intimacy and warmth. Things she had come to associate with pain and disappointment. Her gaze fell on the bride, glowing with happiness, surrounded by friends and family. A pang of something unnameable gripped Isabella. She had once imagined a wedding like this for herself. She had dreamed of love that was reciprocal, uncomplicated, and pure. But life had a way of stripping dreams from you without warning. Isabella's reverie was broken by a gentle, yet confident voice. "Mind if I join you?" She looked up to find a man standing beside her, holding a champagne flute. He was tall, with a rugged charm that seemed effortless, and his eyes warm, genuine, locked on hers with an intensity that was neither intrusive nor pitying. I'm sorry," Isabella said, startled. "I'm not sure. I can see you're not really in the mood to talk," he said softly, sliding into the chair across from her. "I don't want to bother you, but I couldn't help noticing. You're alone, and I thought, maybe, I could offer some company." Isabella studied him cautiously. There was no condescension in his tone, no hint of the usual curiosity or awkward pity she was accustomed to from strangers. He seemed kind, and that was disarming in a way she hadn't expected. "I'm Daniel," he added, extending his hand. Isabella shook it, her fingers brushing his briefly. "Isabella," she replied, a silent stretch between them, not awkward, but comfortable, like the pause between heartbeats. Outside, the laughter and music continued, but inside this small bubble, it was just them. "Are you here with someone?" Daniel asked eventually, his tone casual. "No," Isabella said, a shadow crossing her face. "I was invited by a friend. I didn't have anyone to come with." Daniel nodded, as if he understood something unspoken. "You know," he said after a beat, "I didn't plan to be here alone either. My daughter had a friend's recital to attend, and my wife." He hesitated, swallowing hard. "She passed away last year. We're still figuring out life, one day at a time." Isabella's breath caught. Grief had a way of connecting strangers in silent acknowledgement, and for the first time tonight, she felt a thread of kinship with another human being. Here was someone who had endured loss, yet carried himself with resilience. "I'm sorry," she said softly. Daniel shook his head, forcing a small smile. "Don't be. I've learned that the best thing people can do is just be there, and maybe laugh a little, even when it hurts." Something inside Isabella stirred a quiet hope that perhaps she didn't have to carry her solitude alone tonight. "Would you be my date?" Daniel asked suddenly, his voice gentle but firm, a small spark of vulnerability behind it. Isabella blinked, surprised. "Your date?" "Yes," he said, smiling. "Just for tonight. No expectations, no pressure. I promise we'll laugh, maybe even dance. And if it's awkward, well, at least we'll survive it together." She hesitated, her mind racing. She had declined invitations countless times before, citing excuses rooted in fear and pride. But something about Daniel's presence, his sincerity, made her heart want to answer differently. Okay," she whispered finally, a genuine smile spread across Daniel's face, lighting up his features. "Good. Let's make a memory tonight, shall we?" As the music swelled, Daniel helped Isabella navigate through the crowd. Guests glanced with curiosity, some with surprise, but Daniel never faltered. He didn't treat her wheelchair as a limitation. He treated her as a person equal, respected, seen, on the dance floor. The orchestra played a gentle waltz. Daniel extended his hand, and Isabella placed hers in his. "You know," he murmured, "I'm not much of a dancer." "That's perfect." Isabella replied with a shy smile. "Neither am I," and so they danced not with perfect form or polished steps, but with laughter and an ease that surprised them both. Isabella felt the tension in her shoulders melt, replaced with a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. For the first time in a long while, she let herself be fully present, fully human, and fully alive. As the evening progressed, they shared stories. Daniel talked about his daughter, Emma, a bright little girl with an insatiable curiosity and an uncanny ability to light up every room she entered. Isabella spoke of her company, of her journey, of the accident that had changed her life, but not her drive to succeed. "You know," Daniel said, "life has a way of giving us second chances when we least expect them. Maybe tonight is one of those chances." Isabella looked at him, her eyes moist. "I've spent so long guarding my heart, convincing myself that vulnerability is weakness. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's the only way to really live." Later, as the night drew to a close, Daniel introduced Isabella to Emma. The little girl's eyes widened with curiosity and warmth as she approached. "Hi," she said brightly. "Are you my new friend?" Isabella's heart swelled. "Hi, Emma. I think we could be friends." Emma grabbed her hand, tugging her toward the dessert table. Daniel watched with a fond smile, a quiet admiration in his gaze. He understood something Isabella was just beginning to realize. The smallest acts of courage, saying yes, showing up, letting someone in, could change lives. By the end of the night, Isabella had laughed more than she had in months. She had shared genuine moments with a man and a child whose presence reminded her that life was still full of possibilities, even after heartbreak. She realized that connection wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, being present, and embracing vulnerability. As the guests began to leave, Daniel wheeled Isabella toward the exit. "So," he said, "same time next weekend. Maybe we can let Emma pick our next adventure." Isabella laughed softly, the sound echoing with a warmth she hadn't known she could still feel. "I like that," she said. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars falling to earth. Isabella took a deep breath, letting the cool night air wash over her. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as a CEO or a woman in a wheelchair, but as a person capable of love, laughter, and second chances. Daniel glanced at her, his hand brushing hers lightly. "Thank you for saying yes," he said simply. Isabella smiled, her eyes glistening. "No," she said softly, "thank you for asking." And in that simple exchange, a profound truth revealed itself. Sometimes, the courage to reach out, the willingness to take a chance, and the openness to connection could transform the darkest of nights into a new dawn. As they walked together into the city lights, Isabella realized that life wasn't about avoiding solitude or pain. It was about embracing the moments that reminded her of humanity's quiet, unyielding power. She had found friendship, laughter, and a spark of love in the most unexpected place. And she knew, with a certainty that warmed her heart, that this was only the beginning of something beautiful. That night, Isabella Kane didn't just leave a wedding with memories. She left with hope, connection, and a renewed belief in the possibility of love, resilience, and the simple, transformative power of kindness.